Hello, good evening, good afternoon, good morning to all our listeners from around the world. It is my pleasure, as always, on a Tuesday evening here in Dubai to host this call and have certainly some really great topics to discuss with. And today we have our founder and CEO of Utopian Global here on the call. I prepared some great questions, a good interview, hopefully for you guys, so that you can certainly learn about what Utopian Global is about. And of course, as our emails, our email which came to your inbox, if you are a subscriber, said, we're going to talk about snowy days, and we know that in many parts of the world it did snow, short squeezes, and a bubble. And if everything is in a bubble, we're going to talk about and discuss this today as well. And just before I go and introduce you to Bill, I also want to just clearly state that we are not financial advisors. So this is our interview. We're sharing our opinions, our views, our understandings in the markets. But again, don't take this as a financial advice. We are just basically having a great discussion here about all these exciting things, which is, I believe, in everybody's mind, especially right now, where we are going through. So with that, Bill, welcome to the call.
Hi, Claudia. It's great to be here. Welcome to everyone joining us from different parts of the world.
It is always great to have you on the call. And as I said, the email which went out today was all about snow days, short squeezes, and if everything is in a bubble. In fact, we actually said and talked in recent presentations and recent interviews about that bubble, about precious metals, about gold or silver. And we really want to challenge a little bit the listener here and look in the different areas. Of course, we have been in gold or silver since so many years. Bill, you yourself are a licensed precious metals dealer. You're also a licensed precious stones, a dealer. So you are in this market very, very deep. But what we really want to hear in this interview talk a little bit about is if everything is in a bubble. And probably this is the questions we always get: what should I do? And probably the question is not the right question you should actually ask, because the questions to ask would be more so, well, how do I make and protect money in speculative markets? What areas of the market are actually not in a bubble? And if I'm new to investing, if I'm new to, let's say, buying into precious metals, if I'm new into Bitcoin, if I'm new into any kind of investing, should I actually get involved at this stage where we're in now? So we want to break this a little bit down today for you guys, make it very simple, because I know we have people who may say, oh, Claudia, I know all this information, I don't need that. But then we have a lot of people who really don't understand, who even Bill, when you explain often this example on what money is, so many people are still today puzzled because they either haven't been taught or they don't understand how money works, or they wouldn't really understand this concept which we have been teaching so long time about precious metals. Now, you're in the industry of precious metals. People are still asking, well, you know, with all this Bitcoin going on crazy, should I buy into precious metals? So maybe you just want to give a little bit of a recap, because it's always important on, of course, precious metals. Why now? Why gold now? Why gold is money? Before we, of course, move into those questions here. You're muted.
Yes, hi, Claudia. Yes, thank you for that. It's a great question, actually. Well, the people who joined us on the call last week were Philip Judge, the bullion banker, who's been a bullion banker now for 30 years. He said it's going to be a volatile ride. And when there's times of uncertainty, which is certainly the case in the world now, you're going to have volatile periods, regardless of what stock or equity you may be owning, what precious metals you may be owning, or what cryptocurrency you may be owning. We're looking at volatile times. But I think the important key is to understand what you're actually buying, what the real intrinsic value may be if the world financial system does collapse, and of course the diversification, what the balance should actually be. If you listen to a lot of the professionals out there right now, they've certainly moved away from equities, such as companies, because many of them have been, let's talk about North America, the world's one of the largest stock markets in the world. Even though the trend is your friend, if you're a trader, if it's going up, you don't bet against the odds that if it's in your favor, of course. But when markets change, they change very, very, very fast. And but primarily, the fundamentals have not changed. Let's come back to the fundamentals. What are they? We're living in a pandemic. We're living in a time where central banks around the world are printing money, trillions of dollars. In fact, in the last year, the monetary supply in the US has grown by maybe 40%, from just under $4 trillion to nearly $7 trillion, which is significant. So the effects of that will be as inflation, of course, which means your money, your US dollars, will buy less today than what they did, previously. So it's during these times of uncertainty that people in the know, and even good fund managers, will actually diversify their wealth into different asset classes. And one of those, of course, is gold and silver. Now, maybe a small part of their asset allocation, let's say it's 10%. So you've got to ask yourself now, out of your wealth or paper assets that you have, how much of that do you have in precious metals? Do you own any precious metals? Do you have a plan to own any precious metals? And why should you own precious metals? Cryptocurrency also. We had listened to an interview the other day of a person that's a fund manager that manages over $6 billion in Bitcoin. Substantial. This was unheard of. Actually, it was unheard of for me only months ago. So that's changing very fast. We see Elon Musk came out, I think yesterday or today, was it, Claudia, saying that Tesla has over $1 billion in value of Bitcoin. Unheard of. So we see the world changing very, very, very fast. And if you're an observer to what's going on in the world and who's making the changes, it's not a bad trend to follow. But again, you don't put all your eggs into one basket. This is a smart thing. You might take, when I met my bullion banker, Philip Judge, back in 2003, he said, Bill, maybe 3 to 5% of your paper wealth should be in physical gold and or silver. Maybe it's 10% today. And I believe Bitcoin is that role also. I mean, look at Bitcoin. The key factor is the longer you hold the paper currency, the less it's going to buy. And the longer you hold in your gold and silver, the more it's going to buy. The longer you hold your Bitcoin, the more it's going to buy. The goods and services are coming cheaper. So let me give you a very clear example here, because sometimes these comments are quite confusing. You can go back to the United States in 1971, and a medium-sized home, let's say this is a medium-sized home, a standard measurement, will cost you $25,000 or the equivalent of 750 ounces of gold. This is 1 ounce of gold, which is 31.103 grams. Because 1 ounce of gold in 1971 was valued at $35 an ounce. Now, the same home, the same standard measurement, a medium home, would cost you $280,000 in US today. But if you've been saving, diversifying your wealth, maybe it's generational savings into, say, gold, that same house is only going to cost you 140 to 150 ounces of gold compared to $280,000. And it cost you $25,000 in 1971. Today you need $280,000. Back in 1971, you needed over 700 ounces of gold. Today you only need about 140 to 150. And it's the same with Bitcoin in that respect. So part of your paper holding, you may diversify that into Bitcoin. It may also be Ethereum, the smart contract cryptocurrency. And by doing that is, the longer you hold these new currencies, I see I see Bitcoin as a currency, just like I see, well, it's very different than, let's say, the fiat currencies for many reasons, but it's a currency, it has an exchange rate factor to these currencies. But the longer you hold this particular currency, it's going to be able to buy more goods and services over time. Now, it will be volatile in periods, although if you look at this, like I came back from Angola in December last year, which is only like a bit over a month ago, they have over 20% inflation per year. So it means in 5 years, probably less than 5 years, their paper currency, their currency that they trade the labor for, their wages for, is losing over half of its purchasing power in 5 years. But they've been saving in gold and silver, other commodities. You mentioned the word stones, Claudia, minerals and things like that, real assets of tangible value. And even say Bitcoin, they're not just one preserving their labor wealth. Things are getting cheaper for them. But many people who are not, the question you're really raising is if people who are not in gold, silver, Bitcoin, or owning any assets such as natural minerals, should you get into it now? That's the question, isn't it? Well, I believe holding on to paper, the longer you hold it, there's no question about it, the less it's going to buy. So then it's a matter of having a plan, saying, okay, all my paper wealth, maybe I want to put 10% of that or 20% of that into a portfolio of different class assets. Maybe it's broken up into precious metals. Maybe it's broken up into some Bitcoin and some other investments which primarily will have real asset value. And the asset values that I like, you spoke about trends, is really things which are going to be the next trending high demand for the future. And that is, climate change is a big subject. And there we're looking at electric vehicles. There we're looking at technologies to support the new battery technologies. Electric vehicles, we're looking at nickel, we're looking at silver, we're looking at maybe silica, we're looking at all these different minerals which are going to become high demand. Copper. I think you told me once, Claudia, that there's about 80 kilograms of copper that goes into an electric motor car's electric engine. So you can just imagine that demand increasing over the next 8 or 9 years. And for example, if people don't believe that there's going to be huge demand on electric vehicles, just look where we are today and look by 2030 in Germany, all cars must be electric. So just imagine how quick that shift is going to happen. Look how things changed so fast last year. Fossil fuel prices, oil, for example, strong, over $60 a barrel towards $70 a barrel. Matter of months, went into negative prices. First time in history. So there's many disruptors occurring in our times right now, and it's during these disruptive periods, volatile periods, where you need to be grounded, you need to be very clear in your mind, and you need to have a plan. And the plan that we offer you from Utopian Global is very, very simple. Don't put all your eggs into one basket. Don't try and build your wealth on the back of paper. Take part of that paper and sow seeds into real wealth, such as gold and silver. If you're one of our affiliate members, by earning your commissions, you can take those commissions, get it paid back out in Bitcoin. So you're actually earning Bitcoin in one sense from what you're actually doing. And also other assets which are going to be coming to our table, which Claudia, you've been in Dubai now for a couple of months. I've been here for over a year. And you've met the team here in Dubai. Very impressive, great entrepreneurs, working with some quite amazing projects. And some of these projects, not all, but some of these projects are going to be offered to us at Utopian Global, which will become available to our members. And you'll get to meet the team. It's a pretty extensive team, but decades of experience in owning and building huge infrastructure projects, which are quite exciting. And they just love the purpose of what Utopian Global does, how that we actually have the ability to be able to empower ordinary people like us to be able to own real assets. And that's really love about the concept of Utopian Global, Claudia. That is really the formula and the mission and purpose of why we're here.
Absolutely, Bill. And well, the question, of course, also is, so how do we actually make money in a day's speculative, bubbly markets? Obviously, the stock market, just looking since the last, great, what was it, 2008, the financial burst, of course, this bubble on the banking and housing, etc. Of course, had an amazing run, obviously. Now, is this run fair, not fair? Was there manipulation? Was there whatever? It doesn't matter because, it went up. And certainly a lot of those shares and stuff are very much inflated. So is it the right time to get in there? I don't know. Could it run further? It could probably. And Bill, we're still hearing an echo. I don't know from you. No, I need you muted now. Okay. So I just heard it echo. Sorry for you guys. But when it comes to, and this is where I really like what you just mentioned on, when it comes to really being able to diversify, not hedging all your bets, putting, of course, not all your eggs in one basket. What I so much love about what we do here with Utopian Global is we give you the ability through really non-damaging or whatsoever savings plan. I mean, not damaging is the wrong word, but through a very simple accumulation plan from as little as 25 euros that you can actually buy and accumulate gold and silver over time. And what does it do? Well, it actually dollar cost average. So meaning no matter if, it's going a little bit up or down the markets, you always will dollar cost average, meaning you have cheaper entries, you may have higher entries, but it really doesn't matter at the long run. And if you, of course, are building and growing the assets, and of course, we had different ways. We had Bitcoin mining, which we were involved, which was very profitable for some times. Then it became, of course, unprofitable. Or we had, of course, and we have still obviously store, and we have amazing, exciting projects, but we have the opportunity. And we have this since now quite some years for you to get involved even into cryptocurrency through commissions, which you can get paid out every time you do one thing, and that is sharing our opportunity. So that is really, really cool. I love that very much. And where we're going to. So there's really no need to actually put yourself in any danger or to think all day long, well, is it in a bubble or not? Is it not in a bubble? Because to be honest, I don't really care so much about it because I know that over time, I'm going to build so or so wealth by doing a certain or by having a certain discipline, and that is really accumulating those assets, which of course gold and silver since over 5,000 years has been money and will be money, but also being able to get into this newer, not things to say, but in this newer, of course, projects, which is Bitcoin, which is, of course, different other cryptocurrencies and some very stable projects. I mean, here in Dubai, where we are, we really see the shift. We see the shift in terms of, we have a lot of people from the United States. We have a lot of people from Canada. We have lots of people from Europe. Now, it is a different economy. Here we see so much growth. We see, we have a different insight really when it comes to Asian markets, when it comes to all that development. I mean, just living in Dubai, you see a city which in the last 20 years from a desert has been growing into, this amazing buildings, this new technologies. Everything is just, so amazing when it comes to transportation. There's endless opportunities. Now translate that into of course, renewable energies, new cities. Translate this into India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. Translate this into Indonesia, all those countries which, the infrastructure wasn't really there, but they're growing. They are young. They are forward thinking. It's their time. It's coming into their time. So what you are building right now with, of course, your business partners, moving into today's markets where everything is literally needed. You are literally building, so many times over like a new Dubai, but just in all those cities. So what is required? I mean, it is absolutely amazing, and I can expand on that. So while everybody is sort of in this pandemic, in this doom and gloom, what are we doing? There is so much upside and potential if you are involved in the right business and the right vehicle, of course, where we are in. So I'm excited about what you are actually doing right now. And I know you want to share things, but you can't share things yet. But yes, so again, to conclude this bubble, are we in a bubble? Yes and no, but there are ways that you can protect yourself, and there are things which you can do now. But let's go into the next question, unless you want to talk a little bit about, because I'm really excited, Bill, as you know, I really am. Because I know you and I, we have been just like 2 years ago, when was it, 3 years ago in Bangladesh. And now we talk to people from Bangladesh already, what they have built there in terms of infrastructure and the building material they need for that is absolutely amazing. And we are building the bridge, or we are building really the gap, and we are helping, of course, and you and I and all our listeners can get involved into that in our future projects. So I'm excited.
No, it is very exciting, Claudia, and certainly countries of the eastern part of the world, I think it's coming into their time, their cycle. The West is burdened with debt. The West is burdened with foreign policy that's costing them trillions of dollars, interfering. Shouldn't get political. Let's say crossing borders and spending trillions of dollars in other parts of the world, or maybe it's a military, cost, but they're not building things. Now, when I traveled through Africa last year, I mean, you go into things and you see China's influence, for example, in parts of Africa. But what are they doing? They're not actually invading. What they're actually doing is they're building train systems. They're actually building infrastructure. They're actually building roadways and things like that. They're investing in it. In the end, they still get ownership. In the end, they're still actually getting foreign ownership of another sovereign nation's resources and land. But they're doing it by investing in there rather than, in one sense, dividing, invading, taking, in one sense. As I said, I don't want to be political, but that's a bit of the reality when you travel the world and see what's going on. The biggest change that people can really make, I think, is really to assess where they are, and they've got to get rid of their debt. I mean, these things here, these credit cards, unless you use credit cards, a great thing if you use it right, But if you're not paying it off in time, it's costing you probably 24% per year. That's expensive money. That's money that you could be putting into real assets, maybe Bitcoin, maybe gold or silver. So thinking of a plan is really important. Now, the important thing is not to actually be overwhelmed, because I've been there. Don't get me wrong. Don't think, here's this guy, he's talking about debt. He's never had it in his life. I can assure you I've had debt, to the edge, because I'm a business guy. I push things to the edge sometimes, but I haven't been in that position for a long, long time, but I know how it feels. There's a plan. There's always a plan, but you've got to have the courage to look at it, write everything down, what you owe, what the assets and liabilities are. And if you owe people money, just start to make a plan, contact them, reach out to them instead of them chasing to you. Start a payoffing plan, step by step. You'll get on top of it. Cut out the stuff that the buying stuff that you no longer may need on a daily basis, and sow that into reducing your debt, and sow that into buying real assets. And within 1-2 years, you can change things dramatically. Now, it's been some time, but I told you the story maybe a couple of years ago, Claudia. You know the gentleman. He lives in Kuwait. He's actually a Filipino gentleman, I think, or Malaysia, a businessman living in Kuwait, working in the oil sector. And he rang me and said, "Bill, I need money. I need a loan. I'm in big trouble. They're going to put me in jail because I don't know whether he burnt people or he just owed too much money." But he's living outside his means. He was living outside his means. He was living for money that he didn't have. And in the end, you got to pay the lender, don't you? It's the lender that really owns your life. And you're not free until you get rid of the lender off your back. I didn't give him a cent. I did not give him a cent, because I said, this is like giving you a fuel to throw in the fire. What you got to do is develop a plan and make action on it. Tell your family back home that they have to tighten up. You just can't keep giving them money to buy all these things and those things, and you're under pressure your end. You've all got to work at this together. So if you, because people contact us about these types of things, so what I recommend is you get together, even though you may feel a bit ashamed, a little bit of guilt. It's nothing more worse than if you hit the wall. it's better to deal with the things right now because we don't know what's going to happen. You speak about a bubble, Claudia. Bubbles can go on for a long time. You're blowing that balloon up, and you're pushing and you're puffing. And you think, my God, this thing, when's it going to burst? You just don't know it. Maybe it goes next to 30% or 40% before it actually breaks. Well, markets can be like that too. So I'm not going to predict what's going to happen. All I know is that eventually it'll find its equilibrium. The air has to come out of the balloon and the markets will adjust themselves to realistic valuations. And depends how you're positioned is how that you'll actually come out of it. So I'm a great believer in reducing your debt, especially of these things. Try to increase your revenues, let's say through our Utopian Global Affiliate Program, very cost effective, great way to leverage your income, also a great way to get ownership of precious metals and Bitcoin. And start doing your research on different assets, what minerals will be needed in this current trend. I think that's a good way to actually handle these current really traumatic situations. You speak about Dubai, Claudia, how magnificent it is here. I mean, you've been speaking to people here who've been coming here since the 70s. It was just a desert. Okay, and you look at it now. Now look here, I'm on the 54th floor looking out, lights everywhere, magnificent buildings. But to be quite honest, these magnificent buildings are built by cheap labor. God bless them all. You see them in the streets. You know, as tourists, we come and visit these places. We love the luxury, but you look at the people who actually build these things and the lifestyle that they have, living in work camps and things. You've seen them, Claudia, and you know how cities are built. There's always comes at a price, a human price too, unfortunately. But why are they here doing it? Because the life here is better than where they come from. That's why they're here. But we see this changing in the East now. And of course, we see a lot of the eastern part of the world being the biggest buyers of gold. China, in particularly, Russia, for example, Turkey, for example. This is very geopolitical, very complex world we live in. But in the end, it's the ones that have the low debt, owning the real assets at the right time, who are going to prevail in one sense. And I believe in following that philosophy myself. Have low debt or zero debt. If you can do that, you're free then, of course, and try and keep your income levels up, multiple streams of income levels up, and owning some real assets. It's a nice way to live. It's just a nice way to live. Took me some time to get there, but you can do it too. You just need a plan. This is what we provide for our members around the world.
But what's interesting, Bill, when talking here to average, ordinary people, normal day-to-day people, which is so different, which I experienced to the West, is so in the West you talk about gold, silver, precious metals, and so we have been so much focused on our euro and our dollar and so on. We sort of are not any more educated on precious metals, and especially gold, of course. Now talk to here any Pakistani or Indian or even for that matter Chinese, even though there's not that many we speak to here. It's more Indian, Pakistani, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, and Indonesian, Filipinos. What do they love? What do they prefer? They prefer gold. They love gold. They understand gold because they have been through those many cycles. This current constant currency change, and there's a loss of purchasing power. They want gold or silver because they know gold and silver actually always maintains its purchasing power, and they are big and hot on cryptocurrencies. Why? Well, again, it does, especially Bitcoin, obviously, is very similar there. It has really, even in some countries, helped them tremendously. I mean, we talked also about Venezuela and so on, but of course we are here right now in this region, which is more so towards this eastern part, and those countries, and of course you were very much of a follower as well of Mark Farber, who lives in Asia since years, and Jimmy Rogers, very much talking all about the future is in the East. It is here. It is, of course, those developing and immensely growing economies, and so And this is really, really exciting. Now, again, we love, of course, the West where we come from, absolutely. But when you look at trends, when you look at the big picture, when you look at the macro trends, when you look at this, you got to be, when you're looking into markets, or when you're looking into, of course, wealth preservation, when you look into wealth protection, when you look into, well, where should I put money in, or what should I do? You got to look at this picture. The West, sort of missed the train in one sense, didn't it? I mean, again, we don't want to go into politics, but there's just so much craziness happening right now. And as you said very well, they're not producing anything anymore. Here, of course, in these countries, there is production full steam ahead. They are growing, and they need minerals, and they need, of course, wealth preservation. What is this? This is, of course, gold, silver, and certainly now much more becoming as well Bitcoin. So those are some of the things when you look into building wealth, when you're looking into assessing where all the markets are, where are we right now? Should I do something? Should I not do something? Should I invest? Should I not invest? While we are not financial advisors, those are the things which is just common sense, isn't it, Bill? Just using a little bit of common sense.
Yes, I believe so. And, but I think most people situation today is, of course, many people have been out of work now for a year. When this COVID pandemic is now pretty much a year in our world, and it doesn't seem to be going away too soon, though the politics of it probably wants to get everyone vaccinated first before it does disappear. But let's not go into that politics of vaccination. But with that said, a lot of people are suffering. Some countries are supporting their citizens and getting paid. They maybe getting 70% of their income or 80% of the income. People here, for example, don't get a cent. And that other parts of the world as well. Pakistan, for example, over 200 million people, they wouldn't be getting any social security if they're out of employment. But these countries seem to be managing the pandemic quite well, as they're doing here. They're managing it pretty well also. Things are still active. They have to keep it going because these people need to work. If they're not earning an income, if they're not providing service, they can't live. So, yes, it's what would I do, Claudia? Again, look in the mirror, know exactly where I am in my health, wealth situation, make a plan up, work that plan, have my family and environment work the plan together, and you got to save. And this is the whole idea. This is a philosophy that we started off back in 13 years ago now. It was a philosophy that, you must put some savings aside for when storms come, for when winter periods come. That's been around for thousands of years, that particular story. But in today's world of credit cards, people don't save. People are consumers. People live for money they don't own. But of course, the debt just builds up, of course, and puts them under huge pressure. So again, we've got to be responsible and realize where we are, and then make adjustments to just improve that. And believe you me, once you make a decision, things can change very fast, if you do it as a collective effort, So again, we don't give financial advice, but I'm a great believer in diversification. One is build another source of income up, and that's what we offer. Secondly is earn some real assets. A bit of gold and silver is great. Silver, I think, and gold as well. Long term, don't speculate on it. If you've got a bit of spare cash there, savings there, put a bit into that. Even if it's 5%, it doesn't matter. I don't care if it's 25 euros a month. You're saving in real assets month after month after month. And that's what you've been doing now for 13 years, Claudia, which is pretty amazing. So, when you started off, it may not have seemed much, but now you look back, 10 years has gone like that. I'm sure you've got quite a store holding of real valuable assets there, which is fantastic, which has become, its purchasing power has increased over that last decade, whereas the purchasing power, as I said at the beginning of this call, in paper currencies is greatly diminished. And that trend is going to continue as we move forward. So at some point, you've got to make a decision in life. Do you want to own assets which have real value and purchasing power, have the ability to increase its purchasing power into the future, or do you just want to keep saving in something that's losing purchasing power over time and keeping you in pretty much slavery? The answer is actually easy, and it's just the awakening to know that we have to make adjustments. And that's why I see people like Elon Musk coming out saying I own over $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. We see this fund manager coming out saying he's managing $6 billion in Bitcoin. It's incredible, you know. But I must say, I've just about finished Elon Musk's book. It's a great read. What a genius of an entrepreneur that man is, I must say. Here he is in the United States, building real companies of real asset value, SpaceX, Tesla. I mean, it's incredible what he's achieved in a relatively short period of time. Not without his challenges and struggles, of course, but he's building something of real value. I mean, he's a game changer like Steve Jobs is when it comes to, of course, humanity. And that's really what drives him, I think. Anyway, that's it for me, Claudia, but that's my insight into where we are in the world today, and what I would actually be putting my savings in, or my labor into, my income into. I like to put it in real assets, which is in synergy with the trend as we move forward. And I think that the synergy and trend moving forward is certainly in alignment with climate change, solar energy, battery technologies, electric vehicles, which is, of course, silver, of course, even gold, and other minerals as well. And that's what we'll be bringing to the table more of as we move throughout this next quarter with Utopian Global this year.
Absolutely. And Bill, I'm very excited about all of that, because that will give you, besides, of course, the precious metals, besides everything else, besides the opportunity as such of course, the sharing model, to be able to put money aside and have it actually working for you even harder. So I'm really looking forward to that. So to end up, of course, today's short little bit of an interview, and without giving that financial advice, and just really using this common sense, what should we do? Because we get often this question asked, are we in the bubble? Should I still get in? Should I still buy gold or silver? Should I? That's really not the question. The question is, of course, very, very different, which you should self-ask, which, of course, Bill has addressed here. So, and the great thing is, again, through Utopian Global and through our module, the way we have mapped it out, it is very simple for you to actually get in, to start your savings plan in real physical assets. I mean, even you can have it shipped to you if you wish to. And when it comes to the gold or silver, of course, if we ship to this country, it is very simple. It's not difficult. It's not hard. And I know, people, especially when you're looking at the United States with your stimulus money, we see, people running into the Walmarts and shopping centers and buying big television screen. But will that television screen actually build you wealth? Probably not, right? So put it into something which actually is going to make you more, or is going to protect you from losing it. And so this is where we have an amazing platform here with and through Utopian Global, and it's only going to get better as we move along in those next few months. So stay tuned. If you just listen to by randomly to this, go back to the person who may showed you Utopian Global, or ask to put in contact with somebody who can explain you a little bit more, show you around the website, and show you how to get started. So with that, again, thank you guys. And we're gonna, of course, do a lot of interviews which are gonna come in with different individuals, different person over the course of the next, of course, months, weeks and months to come. So Bill, thank you. Thank you for all the listeners. You can follow us, of course, on social media, LinkedIn, on YouTube, on Twitter, on all those social media forums, Medium, and like us, comment, ask question. If you want to send us an email, send us an email to support@utopianglobal.com. Michael says, hi from Australia, great contact, guys. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you, Dimitri from Holland. Wonderful to have you also. Sorry, Dimitri from Belgium on the call as well. Bill, you use similar examples. Bill Wilmot from the UK. Absolutely. So thank you guys for the comments. Again, like us, share it, and help other people to get started to really build wealth today. So with that, Bill, thank you so much and goodbye.
Thanks, Claudia. Good night to everyone. Stay safe and well.
That's it.